This is a TalkStation original podcast.
Hello, my name is Crystal Tyndall, and I am the co-founder and chair of FISHIN for a Cure. Really excited to have Jeanine Patten-Coble with us today, who is the founder of Little Pink Houses of Hope, and I would like to say my kindred spirit, perhaps. Jeanine, we're going to have a conversation today. The purpose of this is just to bring awareness to FISHIN for a Cure, but also I think the conversation today is for people to understand the ripple effect that we have when we join forces. And so it gives you an opportunity to talk about Little Pink Houses of Hope and then our partnership together, and in hopes that everybody coming together will help us make a difference and provide hope, because that's what we're looking for.
That sounds great. I'm excited to be here, Crystal.
For the listeners who may not know, can you share the mission of Little Pink Houses of Hope and how you bring hope to families facing breast cancer?
Sure, Crystal. Our mission is super simple. We have found a way to, during a cancer patient's journey where life is hard, it's difficult, there's doctor's appointments, there's chemos, there's, all the decisions that you have to make. Our organization gives them an opportunity just to hit the pause button. And we do that by providing free week-long vacations for breast cancer patients and their families. Imagine getting an email saying that you've won kind of like the Little Pink lottery. You get a house in a beautiful location for a week. We provide all the meals, all the programs, all the services. And it's not just a vacation for you and your family. We bring anywhere between 10 and 15 families during the same week on these vacations. So it gives patients an opportunity to connect with other families going through breast cancer and who are on a similar journey so that they just don't feel alone.
And I had the pleasure recently to experience this retreat, if you will. And one of my words that I came away with was hope. Talk to us about why the concept of hope is so central in the healing journey.
Yes, you are a rock star volunteer, by the way, the week that you came and helped, which we really appreciate. Hope is so incredibly important. I'm a breast cancer patient myself, 16 years now. And whenever you are diagnosed as a patient, I think you immediately go to that place of what if? What if this happens? What if I don't make it? What if I'm not here for my kids? Now, that's also tempered with a lot of joy. Your life changes and you see things in a new perspective. But there's so many moments of just worry and anxiety that so many cancer patients face. So to be able to have hope and have things to look forward to in the future, but then also to just have hope in yourself. Hope that you haven't lost yourself through this journey, that you're still able to see the pieces of who you are that are beautiful, and you're able to find new pieces that you never even knew existed. That hope is oftentimes what gets people through and gives them the strength to get through their journey. Or, the reality is a lot of cancer patients won't make it. And that hope provides them the peace to be able to walk in love and grace and compassion with their family during those difficult times. So it is critical. Hope to me is the equivalent of people not feeling isolated, people having just a sense of value and worth and love. And, we say it all the time in the Little Pink space that we just come along and we just put a huge embrace around cancer families as they're going through it. And that hug looks like hope.
I felt that hug and that hope as a volunteer. I don't want to put words into your mouth, so I know why, from my perspective, why that week, what that experience, why that experience is so powerful. Put it in your words. What does the experience look like? And at the end of the week, why is it so powerful?
So the experience itself is a little bit like summer camp. We have a week-long schedule of amazing activities. So, we do this 25 weeks a year across the United States. And so each week looks different, but the premise of the week is the same. We're going to do amazing, empowering activities, everything from stand-up paddleboarding to boat rides to art classes. We have special events for survivors, special events for caregivers and for children. we really take care of the entire family. We look at it holistically and say, how can we support this entire family while they are on this journey? Now, that's the logistics of the week. That's the experience, you could say. But the value of the week and kind of the big takeaway is that there is a special sacred space for a week where I'm not the only mom with cancer. I'm not the only kid whose mom is bald, and I might not know how to process that. I'm not the only husband who feels totally overwhelmed by this experience. Just that kind of connection of being with people who truly, truly get it, where you don't have to make other people feel better that you have cancer. You get to be exactly who you are. And, week after week, I see amazing things happen where a person who's so concerned about her hair and she's got a wig on, the first part of the week, takes the wig off and throws it into the ocean because it doesn't matter anymore. She doesn't have to try to be somebody in a real world. She gets to be in this kind of sacred space of Little Pink for a week. And that's really empowering, not only during that week, but also setting them up to go home to understand that's they don't have to worry about that as much as they probably thought that they did. It's truly an impactful week that is changing families' lives and changing volunteers' lives as well. Our volunteers that come, they come to serve. And I think the entire group, both volunteers and participants and families that come, I think all of them will tell you that we came as strangers to this week and we are leaving as one big family.
All of what you just said was what I visualize and what I experience as a volunteer. And it's truly transforming what happens during that week. I can't imagine being the family member. I'm sure it's triple fold on top of what I experienced as a volunteer. So thanks for sharing. We are so fortunate to support Little Pink and have for so many years. It was just, I think this is kind of the week in my memory bank that we started donating to Little Pink Houses of Hope, because you just finished a week in Emerald Isle, and that was, I think, the first time we presented a check was during the week retreat.
No, yes, it was amazing. And the Fishing for Cure support came at a really pivotal time for us. So this relationship started when we were growing pretty aggressively. And so finding funding, but more importantly, finding the right partnerships, because that's our entire organization is about relationships. And so for us, this partnership with Fishing for a Cure has been wonderful. And it's been such a premier experience for us because it's all about relationships.
So if you could put it into words, like, what do you think the partnership means to the families?
So, so many times people will donate money and kind of have no idea what the impact is or where it goes or who it's maybe helping. The Fishing for the Cure support for us has directly impacted our ability to be able to say, okay, we're going to bring 12 families to Emerald Isle this week. Okay, we're going to bring 13 families to Topsail this week. The support has also made a huge difference for us as we've grown because we have instituted a process by which now we pay for travel assistance for the families who are coming. So for years, families would come and we weren't covering those costs, and it was prohibitive for some families to attend. So now we cover all of those costs, and none of that is possible without Fishing for a Cure support. And when we just did a recent assessment of our travel assistance, and the money that is given as part of this program, we knew we'd be helping people who financially weren't able to attend. I don't think when we started it, we processed that our assessment shows that 69% of people who use that travel assistance are single moms. And so
Wow.
I go back and I think about that and I say, imagine being a single mom, getting this great email saying that you've been accepted on this retreat, but then not being able to come with your kids because you don't have the financial resources. So, and the partnership is amazing because it allows people to say yes.
I think it's ironic, and I think it's important to tell the listeners, when we started this kind of series, we talked specifically about the Hope Fund. And
Mhm.
it was so amazing that one of the recipients of the retreat was also a Hope Fund recipient. And just to see that tie-in was beautiful. It was beautifully woven into this magical experience. How does the ripple effect work? Like, what does that look like if someone's saying, if I support Fishing for a Cure or if I support Little Pink, how does that ripple effect work for you?
Yeah, I mean, think about that for a second. Just that example that you were giving of the person who she was on a Little Pink retreat, but she also got a Hope Fund, support. Think about it just from a standpoint of that patient and being so overwhelmed with the bills and we all know how it is. You got to get on the phone and fight with an insurance agency or, you can't figure out how to pay this bill or that bill. And to just have this feeling like this world is a great place that wants to help and wants to take care of us. So the Hope Fund support that she's getting to cover her needs there, this opportunity with us, and then us having the ability to connect her as well with some other resources. Like these are life changing things that are happening for people. This is not just a give a check because it's a feel good. This is a support that truly, truly makes a difference. In terms of the ripple effect, it's so interesting to me because we're all in this space. We're all in this breast cancer space, nonprofit organizations that serve. And I've always been such a huge proponent of we're all here to help patients. And so I want us all to be overlapping, and I want to be at Fishing for a Cure events because I want your supporters to know who their charity beneficiaries are. We love having Fishing for a Cure at our events because we want you to see the big picture. We were thrilled when you took time out of your schedule to be able to volunteer because now you have your stories that we know just you telling our story to other people, there's going to be tons of ripple effects there. There might be patients who don't know anything about us who all of a sudden are going to start applying for a retreat, or somebody who might volunteer on a retreat. I think we all have the ability once you dip your toe into the
Mm.
water and you say,
Literally.
yeah, literally, really want to start making a difference, you can think you're helping 10 people and you don't realize the effect you're going to have on hundreds and maybe even thousands of people. And that's definitely something that, as the founder of this organization, I 100% feel like we have had the ability to do. We just came off of a Little Pink cruise celebrating our 15th year. And we had families from, the second year who came back on this cruise. And, we had hundreds of people on this boat. And it was amazing to see children who were 6 or 7 when they came on their retreat. And now they're 19 years old and in college. And they're like, Little Pink was still the best week of our lives. Like,
Yeah.
it really is making a huge impact.
I think you would agree that both Little Pink and Fishing for a Cure was built on community and specifically compassion. We are so thankful for the community support that we receive, as starting in Emerald Isle and of course expanding. How do you see that shared spirit creating something bigger than either of us could do by ourselves?
Oh, it's only possible that way.
Right.
Because when you think about it and you think about the community in which both of these organizations were founded on and how those communities continue to grow and continue to overlap and support, we're looking forward to there's an event coming up in Greensboro, Lifting for a Cure, and we'll both be there that day to be able to support that business. But I think that when we talk just in general about community, I think it's so important to understand that our patients that we're serving, and even your other charity partners, those patients that you guys are serving, it is a super powerful thing to be a patient and to not be a part of a community that you walk into and you feel like there are strangers that are helping you, people you don't know that love you, people that may have been praying for you. It is, as a patient, it's amazing to see that because the cancer journey can be very isolating. So these communities that we're creating for cancer patients, it's bigger than just our own internal community. It's what they're able to kind of step into and feel, and how our local communities are able to step in with their own gifts, their own talents. It's not just about money. It's about people finding a space and people finding somewhere where they feel like they belong and they can really make a difference.
How do we sustain this hope, not just for our organizations, but how do we tap into communities to sustain hope for the journey? Like, it's not about the money, right? Like you said.
Yeah,
But
it's
how do we build on community efforts to sustain hope?
I think in our experience, I think one of the things that we have seen be really successful is tapping into local towns, communities, and looking at it not being about us, but about what their vision is, what they're passionate about, what they may want to create, that I'm not necessarily a member of their town or their community. They know it way better than I do, but they're going to put together a team of local people to help support us. And I do believe that in this current climate that we're in, kind of in the US, that the more we create pockets of people who there isn't an agenda that is about anything else than just hope and love and compassion, it also has a cool way of bringing people together that might not normally be in the same rooms. So to be able to do that in local communities with the support of our organizations, like we have the hierarchy, we have the structure to be able to give them the support and the resources that they need. But man, they've grown things into things I never dreamed of before. And it's beautiful to watch. So I do feel as if there is a little bit of sustaining that is about maybe not necessarily us being the hero, but how are we making heroes out of other people? And I think that's been part of my focus kind of the last 2 years, is how can we elevate people who really love our organizations so that they can create something that doesn't exist. They can create something new as well. And that's even within our organization, but that's also outside of our organization and supporting other nonprofits that are either starting out or they're at those pivotal juncture moments. Could be mentorship, it could be sharing of resources, it could be putting events together that are joint events, kind of thinking differently about the silo aspect of the nonprofit world and really coming together for that common cause.
I know that we would not be in the place that we are today without your partnership and your mentorship. So I would be remiss if I did not just take the moment to say thank you for that experience. That ripple effect has been huge with you being able to work with our board and just throughout the year. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, it comes back to I believe that we can push other nonprofits to be their best, the same way people pushed me, and sometimes you can't see things as clearly when you're knee deep and in it. And sometimes it just takes an outside perspective. And, all nonprofits, I feel like, should be open to an outside perspective coming in and just saying, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Doesn't mean you have to do it, but boy, it can really open up your eyes and it can lead you down avenues you never knew existed.
If you could leave our listeners with one thought on the importance of hope, but more so for those people who have never participated in Fishing for a Cure, who've never seen an experience that you provide, what's the one thing that you would tell listeners on the importance of being able to provide an experience of hope with our families?
Yeah, I'm going to pull a story in if you don't mind.
Great, sure.
And I'll come back to it in terms of meaning for the answer to your question here in a second. So, on my very first retreat I ever did, I was teaching a woman how to stand up paddleboard. And she was on her knees and she was nervous and she was worried. And it was an experience she never thought she would do. And I looked at her and I said, it's okay. Like, you don't have to stand up. The fact that you're on the board is great. Like, don't, you're doing great. Just all of the positive affirmations that you can give somebody. And she looked at me and she goes, no, I have to stand up. And so I said, all right, we're getting you up then. And I helped her get up on her board. And on the shore, was her 8-year-old and 10-year-old son, who were standing there screaming, "Mom, you're a rock star. Mom, oh my gosh, you're the best." Screaming and clapping for their mom. And she looked at me and she said, "That's why I have to get up." She goes, "That's how I want my boys to remember me." And she died about 2 years later. But I think about that story and I think about how when we look at these partnerships and we look at the importance of hope, it might not be the huge things. We just have the ability to create these moments of hope in people's lives. And we don't know where those moments are going to land. We don't know when they're going to happen, but we have to create an environment where they can. And we have to create a universe in which there's no agenda, there's no politics. It's just love and it's just hope. I would say, and you'd probably agree with this, Crystal, that you could go to any Fishing for a Cure event. And yes, the golf tournament is what the event is. It's the other things, the other conversations, the other connections that happen in that space where that is what's giving somebody hope. The partnership, it is a great partnership for Little Pink, and we feel very lucky and very blessed to be a charity partner. And our hope is that through our work, we're also able to provide hope for the people in all of the Fishing for a Cure communities where we touch. We're thrilled to be able to have the support of your organization. It is truly here in my heart. So thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.